Welcome back, guys. It's the Tatum Talk podcast, man. I am so excited today. I got a special guest, mentor, friend of mine, man, Curtis Daniel, owner of Patchwerks. If you don't know what Patchwerks is, guys, go Google Patchwerks. They are the #1 studio in the country. They've had every artist you can name, new to old, Meg Thee Stallion, Young Nudy, Tupac, Big, Jay-Z, John Legend, Britney. Everybody you can name has been here, man. So it's a pleasure. But the blessed thing about this guy is he's a Michigan State alumni, was a highly recruited guy out of high school, loves football, understands football. And we here today just to have a really good conversation about football and sports and life. So my first question, man, I want to ask you is, how'd you get here, man? How'd you get here?
Here?
How'd you get here?
Talking about Patchwerk?
Patchwerks. Like, what made you from football to the music industry? Like, how did you become like a mogul in the music industry?
So for us, I always tell people we're from Carson, California, and which is in LA. So if you're talking to somebody that's not from California and they say where you from, I'll say I'm from LA. If you run into somebody that's from California, you say you're from LA, they're gonna say from what city.
Yeah.
And then if you run into somebody that know that, they're gonna ask you what neighborhood you're from. So we're specifically from a neighborhood called the Cabbage Patch.
Okay.
And I always say one of the unique things about the city of Carson is that the median household income of Black people is higher than average people. So I never run around and act like we was born in the hood or nothing. Both of my parents been married now for about 55 years. Everybody on my block parents was married and, stuff like that. But, we basically, me and Bob, we went to the same kindergarten, elementary, junior high, and high school. And that's
Who's Bob? Who's Bob?
Bob Whitfield. Nowadays the younger people know him from being Sheree's husband on the Housewives of Atlanta. But Bob in high school was the #1 rated high school football player in the nation. He went to Stanford. He graduated when he was 19, and he got drafted by the Falcons in the first round, 8th player overall.
Sheesh.
So throughout his 14 or 15-year career, Bob was the highest paid lineman in NFL history each time he did his contract. He probably played more games in a row than any other lineman or player in Falcons history, and they went to the Super Bowl.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So now he's coaching. Terrence Mathis is the head coach at Morehouse, and Bob is coaching the O-line. This is their first year together.
Man, I know Terrence Mathis.
Yeah, Terrence
played
for the Falcons.
What a small world. World.
Yeah. So for us, anyway, here more specifically to get to the music part is I always tell people my mom's name is Mahalia. So we just, she was named after a musician. And so our whole life, I just grew up around music. I remember she had the Pioneer system. We always, when we was cleaning up, literally, we was just playing music. Even now, I don't really cut on the TV. My wife get mad because I don't watch movies or shows or anything. I'll cut on the music just in the middle of the day while I'm cleaning up, just sitting around when most people would cut on the TV. I cut on music. And so I just always loved music. And we had a mutual friend. He's an artist. He's still doing music now. His name is Razkaz. And me, I just was a hip hop connoisseur and I love lyrics and MCs. And I thought he was the dopest rapper that I had ever heard in my life. And by the time we had got to college, Bob was a year older than me and he had got drafted. And he was dibbling around buying equipment and drums and putting stuff in his basement here in Alpharetta. And I was like, man, the homie Raz is dope. You need to, you ain't doing nothing, man. Send that equipment to LA so we can, go get a record deal. And so he was like, cool. So he spent some money for Raz to, we were young. So I graduated at 23. So I had to be 22 and Bob was probably 23. Raz was about 22. And so we had been told that if you cut a demo, you can get a record deal.
Okay. All right.
So we was like, okay, well, he's dope. We're going to cut a demo. And so Bob paid for him to do his demo. And we thought it was incredible. And nobody wanted to sign him because he was so lyrical and so different. Being from the West Coast, they wanted you to come underneath that NWA or Dr. Dre banner, that gangster stuff.
Yeah, right.
And he wasn't really like that. And so we cut the demo and we shopped it and nobody wanted to sign him. And so us being young and naive was like, we should just start our own record label then. And so we started Patchwerk Recordings. We're Patchwerk Recording Studio, but we started Patchwerk Recordings in 93. And so we pressed up vinyl, pressed up cassettes, and we put the single out. Worked
So
in
y'all did your own
industry.
distribution?
Yep. So
Oh,
we
so
was
y'all did-
independent
oh,
way
y'all-
back
y'all-
then.
You're independent, like
93.
real deal, like
So we put it
okay.
out, right?
Like Master P back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Printed up the 8x10s, the black and whites, printed it out, and we just hit the streets, flooded the streets, and it created a buzz out of this world, right? And then next thing you know, Rick Rubin is in Carson. So they trying to sign him to Def Jam. They trying to sign him to Sony, to Warner Brothers, every single record label.
Hold on. Let's take a step back, because I want to relate this to how did y'all hit the streets? I mean, y'all, like, what kind of work y'all put in? 'Cause that's the whole thing.
Man, we have a documentary. You can see pictures of us pressing up vinyl. We was pressing up the vinyl. We was pressing up the CDs. We had the stickers. BJ sent me a picture. He was running the label. He sent me a picture last week of a trash can at Clark that still got the Razzcast sticker on. I said, they ought to be ashamed, because that was from 1994.
30 years ago.
It still got the Razzcast sticker on the trash can, I swear to God. And so we literally was in the street. We was going to the clubs. We was going to the radio stations. We was going to the rap, the Jack the Rappers, the seminars, everything that you needed to do, paying DJs to get it played in the club and stuff like that way back in 93, 94. And it broke. And it created a bidding war with every label. Everybody wanted to sign them. And so at the time, Priority was real big with Snoop, Ice Cube, NWA, and he was from LA, so he decided to sign with Priority. And so we did the first album, and we realized how much money we had spent on production and studio time, over a couple $100,000.
Jeez.
And
It's a big
and
investment.
Bob was like, we should just get our own studio. And so we got our own studio, and that's kind of how we got here. Now in college, I was still, once I got hurt, so I messed up. I had a spinal injury, same injury that Moose Johnson and Michael Irvin had. Narrowing of the spine, a narrow opening between C3 and C4. You one hit away from being paralyzed, right? So that injury, like I say, was difficult, because when people look at you, you look fine. There's nothing wrong with your knee, nothing wrong with your ankle and stuff, whatever, but it's like an internal thing. And so I was always helping a friend of mine doing promotions. He had a national promotions contract in Michigan. So we would drive to Chicago, Ann Arbor, Indiana, and promote records. We brought Wu-Tang up there. I got pictures of that. And before they was known or whatever. And then I did a hip hop radio station. Michigan State had a radio station on campus. And so me and him did a hip hop radio station where we hosted it. We had the #1 mix show on Saturday nights from 8 to midnight in the state of Michigan. And so I was always around the music thing or whatever. And, it was when you think about it, we all from LA, we from the Patch. Rads is from LA. He signed a Priority. We probably should have did a studio in LA, but Bob got drafted by the Falcons. Thank God. And we came to Atlanta, and just so happened, the only thing that we missed, I always say, was that first Outkast album, because it came out in 93 or 94. We opened up the studio in 95. Everybody in Organized Noise and the Falcons, and Outkast and the Dungeon family were Falcon fans. So we used that to our advantage, gave about 23 tickets to the game. And after the game, everybody came to the studio and we started working. And that's what stamped us and gave us our credibility.
That's crazy. Hey, guys, we're going to pause on this right here, man. This show was brought to you by... Welcome back, guys. Tatum Podcast, man. Tatum Talks Podcast. I am here with Patchwerks, man. He gave us a brief rundown of how he ended up here. My next question, though, man, I want to ask you, sports and music is intertwined. And I explain to me, because why does every athlete want to be a rapper, man? Like, I just like, can you give me the mindset of that? Because I don't understand that. Like, and most of them can't rap though. Like, most of them is, and I don't want their name, but man, I listen to, I'm like, man, let me try them out, man. These guys, most of them can't really rap. But why is that every rapper want to be an athlete and every athlete want to be a rapper?
I mean, so if you're an athlete, music is what motivates you. It helps you get through
Yeah.
practice. It helps you lift weights.
Yeah.
It hypes you up before the game. It'll calm you down after the game. You win, you go on a party, there's music around. And so you constantly hearing it, you know what I mean? And if you're an artist, what do you do for your relief? You out there playing basketball,
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
football,
Okay.
watching
Okay.
games, going to
All right.
games and stuff like that. And then both of them are forms of entertainment. And it's kind of like, you know, these people that are athletes making it, you know, on college level, whatever division or whatever, they're more so a little bit more elite athletes. And they have that mindset that they can do whatever they want to do as long as they work on it and they practice on
Yeah.
it. So they sitting there watching all of this stuff and playing it all the time. And then you start rapping along with the songs and stuff like that and singing. So you think that you can do it. And then they jump on out there and try to do it. I always be wanting to call, what's his name, man? I think I DM'd him one time, Le'Veon Bell, because he went to Michigan State. And, man, I used to hear him rapping. And I wanted to help him so bad,
Bro, you
man.
can't rap, though, bro.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, I could have did something with him. And I'm like, I mean, my thing is like, again, it's self-assessing, man. Like, you around the wrong people if they telling
Man,
you.
yes, listen, man.
I ain't trying to blast him. I'm just
I know what you're
saying
saying.
he had a monotone style.
Bro.
And I was like, you know, I could have got somebody to write something from him, do some production for him or whatever and make it. But that's the thing is that they think that some of these bigger artists may not be writing or doing their stuff as we're finding out now. So
yeah.
we could have hooked you up, man.
No,
and had
man.
you sounded. You had the platform, but Le'Veon was.
So you know what? I want to, and I'm glad you mentioned Le'Veon, man. So I want to ask you the question. What's the importance of having a mentor or a good coach in your life? Like, tell me that from high school to college, the importance of you having a good coach and what that meant in your life and a mentor. So it's kind of a two-part question because, like, I think everybody thinks that people just make it on their own, and they don't. Right. Nobody does. Right. And you need a mentor, and I think that's the part that people miss. And having a great coach, because, like, for instance, like, and I'm a Le'Veon Bell fan, and what's and Antonio Brown. I used to love him, right?
Yeah.
And this relates back to athletes believing they can do anything, and they believe it's them. Like, most athletes really believe that they're the reason why they're this good. No, what happened was there's a lot of people around you that helped you lift you to that point, and now you believe it's you. So I'm 100% sure if Le'Veon and Antonio Brown would have stayed with the Pittsburgh, they was first ballot Hall of Famers.
I agree.
First ballot.
I think Le'Veon probably admitted that. He said he should have stayed
first
there.
ballot.
Yeah.
So but
some people don't think that it, like you said, the Steelers organization and that program and what they was running contributed to your success. It wasn't all you. And when you tried to take all you somewhere else, it didn't work, man. You gotta give credit when credit due. It ain't all you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So explain to me the importance of that, though. Like, because like Mike Tomlin, like, people was talking about during that time, firing Mike Tomlin.
Right.
Oh, he don't control his locker room. I'm like, no, he controlled his locker room.
Right.
Because those two guys' career never, and I'm not here to mash on those guys, man, but those guys' career never did anything after they left that organization. So explain to me, because I want you to explain this because I need the parents and the students to understand the importance of having a mentor and having a great coach in your life.
Yeah. So for me, you started off at high school. I feel like my I'll say this. My very first coach was at my wedding, and that was my T-ball coach. And he was very strict and militant. We were the only 7 or 8 year old people running around the park 2 laps, 2 miles before every practice. We was the only people that was at the park, and he was throwing the ball at us, making us get hit, so we would know what it feel like, because he didn't want his players crying in the game. He was the only person that if you was running too slow, he would come behind you and kick the back of your foot and trip you. He was the only person that parents was trying to get banned from coaching at the park. But you know what I mean? It was kind of like, no exaggeration, from that time that I was 7 years old to the time I got to Michigan State and George Perlis was yelling and cussing and doing all that stuff, I had felt like I already had did that with my T-ball coach, and that was baseball. And so, you know, I think it's very important. And I thanked him for that. I mean, he probably didn't correlate it, but he made it. There was nothing. I never had a harder coach than my T-ball coach at 7 for the rest of my career. Not in high school, not in college or nothing like that. And I always thanked him. And I asked him, he came to my wedding, and I did a video on my, I got a little playlist on my personal YouTube channel called Roses. And I called people who I thought had an impact on my life, and he was the first one. And then I called my high school coach and some parents that helped me out when I was at Michigan State. And that's how impactful he was. Now, I think that he was able to make a huge impact because back then parents didn't bother the coaches. Like, you know what I mean?
I was gonna say.
It was like they would be like, man, you on the team, he the coach, you got to do it the way he said, you know, and you ain't quitting. Just because he make you run, you better get out there. You made me pay this money for this uniform. It might have only been $35 back then, but you wasn't quitting on my mom and them $35, right? So it was like the parents was our parents. It ain't like now. Our parents was never at practice. I mean, not saying that's bad, but they was working.
Yeah, it was working.
So they would drop us off at the park, and we would be in the care of these coaches. And he would run his practices like he wanted to. And literally on the tape, he said, I asked him, did you have problems with parents? He said, yeah. I told them that while they're here for these 2 hours, they're under me. And if you don't like the way that I do stuff, you can take them off the team, but they're going to do what I want to do when I'm coaching. He was a man. You know what I mean? And
but see, Kurt, so that's parents, parents. I want y'all to really look at this. Look at me in my eye. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all ruined that for the kids. Y'all did that. All right. And y'all always say, people say, well, Derek, you always on the parents. I'm on the parents because the coaching's been the same. Coaches been the same. It's y'all the ones that ran away coaches like that. See, let me tell y'all what happened. See, here's what happened though, Kurt. What happened was we went through that. Went through that struggle, went through that, all right? Now we live in the suburbs, so we feel like we got options. Yeah. And back in the day in Cleveland, you lived on Woodland on 93rd. You played for Pile 6.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You played for Pile 6. Okay, and so everybody knew in your neighborhood that you played for your neighborhood team. Yeah. All right, now let me tell y'all something, man. This is something that y'all parents, y'all. I'm saying y'all f the game up. Y'all f the game up, y'all. You know why? When I grew up, I grew up in the gang banging era.
Oh, you know,
the gang banging era. Gangs had just hit Cleveland 90, 91, 92. It was Crips, Bloods, Folks, GDs, right? Okay. Now, we lived in a Vice Lord neighborhood. We played football in Woodland in a Folks neighborhood. All right. So it was literally gangs. It was like it was bad. Like it was gang members on our football team, right?
Oh, yeah.
We played with other gang members. And when we went down to King Kennedy, there was more gang members that we didn't get along with. But guess what? Nobody ever got shot at a game. Nobody ever was fighting at the game. Like what's changed? What's changed is you parents are the ones that changed. Like that's what happened. So what happens is back in the day, we'd take that, like, and our coaches was crazy. I ain't gonna lie, my coach would grab my face mask. He would push me, and y'all call that abuse. And I'm a strong man today because of that.
Yeah, but Derek, the coaches weren't doing anything that the parents probably wasn't doing at home.
Oh yeah.
Your mama was whooping you with the switch and the spoon.
Yeah, but you can't. You can't even whoop your kid now because they're called.
I ain't condoning that, but it goes back to, you asked the question about the athletes trying to rap and rappers trying to be athletes. My thing is, it's about respecting somebody's expertise. So if you a basketball player or athlete, you'll be like, man, I can't do what Jay-Z doing because you respect him. If you're a parent and you did your homework and you put your kid in a good organization with a good coach, you need to respect the coach.
Ooh,
and understand that you picked the right coach and got him in the right program. Now you need to give the coach space to operate and do things the way that he wants to do it. So he may not do it the way that you do it, but he probably or she probably got a method to their madness. I always tell people this. I remember one time, this is where I started respecting people for the expertise. I paid a dude a couple years to come pressure wash the concrete at my house. He charged me like $275. Of course, I was like,
That's too much money.
man, nah, it wasn't too much money. I was like, I can do that myself. They rent them things out at Home Depot.
Right.
I was in my Escalade. I went over there and picked that stuff up from Home Depot. The bleach spilled out the back, bleached the back of my seat. That was the first thing. Then I got home. I pressure washed that sidewalk. Man, it took me way longer than it took the dude. The next 2 days, my arms were shaking. I told my wife I will never pressure wash this house again, and I respect the person because he's an expert at it. So now it doesn't matter whether it's landscaping, painting.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, you see these people come in your house and paint your house in 2 hours, and you think you can do it, man, but you don't have that skill set. You know what I mean? So like I said, it goes the same way with these coaches. These coaches be up at night thinking about game planning, analyzing players, trying to figure out how to make them better, and that's enough than to have to be arguing with some parents and stuff about kids playing time and what they doing.
Facts, man. Now I gotta expand on that, man. I really believe that is the main issue with football right now, man. Is parents aren't allowing kids to grow through the adversity, and then what happens is because parents have more money now, or they're in they feel like they can just move and
they got more options. But
they
doing that in school too. They bothering the teachers, man. Like, I mean, so nowadays people don't feel like they can say, I have to tell, we have group meets for these various teams, and my daughter on her softball team was struggling. I think her first 37 at bat, she couldn't get a hit, used to get in the car crying. I went in that group meet. I said, hey, man, here's my daughter films of all her swings. If any parents or anybody out there see anything that can help her out, we are not the type of parents that don't allow people to say nothing or correct us. We want your help. Your daughters are doing good. If you see something, boom. If you see my daughter out there, don't be afraid to talk to her. Coach them.
Right.
We not that type of family. And then all the dads start chiming in. Hey, she's stepping this way.
Wow.
She's doing this.
Wow.
At the end of the season, she started out batting, in youth ball, they let extra people bat. So she was batting 11th. By the time we went to the World Series in Florida, she was batting cleanup. She ended up batting 371 that season. And that was taking input, opening up the door for other people to be critical and offer solutions and suggestions for her to get better, as opposed to be like, don't be telling my daughter what to do. You know what I mean? And so I think that happens in the school. When we go to the school, we talk to the counselors. Hey, man, you can talk to Ava. If she's doing something that you don't think is appropriate, say something to her. If you coaching her, coach her. You know what I mean? And we teach her that those are the professionals in those respective fields, so you should listen to them.
Yeah, but I just think that how can we get our parents back to that though? Like what's the solution, man? Because I don't know it, because I talk about it every day.
Well, the thing is that, like, I think I always say a man's strength is knowing his weakness. And you got people running out there opening up their mouth and they don't know what they're talking about, but they don't realize that. And so it's kind of like, if they don't realize that they the problem or they causing a problem, they're causing more problems. So the first thing is to kind of get them to get a point of view or a perspective that, one, this person is out here volunteering to help and get your kid better.
Right.
They don't have an incentive to just dog your kid out. You know what I mean? And that's where you starting at. So if you starting with that, and then that's that thing that when you take that to the car and your kid in that car and you giving off that same energy, then that kid start talking like that to the other kids. Man, you ain't good. I'm the best one on the team. And it just starts spreading. And so to me, it's like, even here in the studio, it's like, man, we had to put out so much information because I felt like an educated customer was a better customer. It's easier for me to do business with that person. And so sometimes it may be beneficial for these coaches to have a meeting with the parents prior to the season.
And have rules and regulations. And I'm talking about written rules though.
Right. But see, Derek, you talking about written, why you didn't write out this podcast? Don't nobody read.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you're going to have to sit down and have a conversation with these people. Right. Yeah. And so for us, we had to translate our FAQs off the website and make like 30 videos of our FAQs because people are more likely to watch it.
People don't.
Yeah.
People don't
So
read.
the way you
They consume
communicate, man,
content
you
more.
can't just hand out no rules to no parents,
Nah.
because the parents that aren't going to cause you any problems are going to read them rules.
Yeah. Nah.
The ignorant
They're not
parent,
gonna
the
read it. You're
ignorant
right. They're
parent
not
gonna
gonna read it.
sign the bottom of it and ain't gonna read it, and they're gonna
nothing.
give you all the problems on earth until you sit down and be like, "Hey, let's go over these rules. This is what you agreed to," and they don't even know what they agreed to. So it's kind of like it's a hard thing because it takes so much time. You spending so much time with these kids, coaching and trying to make them better, and you signed up to work with these kids, but your other job is you got to deal with these parents. And if you don't deal with them, you're going to have to deal with them in the middle of a game when everything is going crazy. So you might as well kind of set up some time to have a conversation and set some expectations before you get started. Okay. You know what I mean?
All right, man. This segment was brought to you by. I'm gonna stop right there, man. This right getting juicy. We're gonna go to the next segment, man. But this is getting juicy. This segment was brought to you by. Welcome back, guys. This is the Tatum Talk Podcast, man. We are here with Patchwerk's owner studio in the studio right now with Curtis Daniel, and we going in, y'all. This conversation, I want to talk about. Give me 5 things, and this is relate to music and athletes. 5 things that destroy athletes' career. Give me. I'm gonna give you some things, and I want you to give me some things because, like, I know one thing. Women, drugs, and staying out too late. Those are 3 things. All right. I'm just and I'm saying women because and I'm not blaming a woman, but I gotta blame how these young men are choosing the women. like for instance, man, like, okay, if you're an athlete and I mean, you know what, I gotta name some names, man, because I'm tired of seeing the same thing, man. Like, listen, these athletes, okay, why would you date a woman that dated Kurt, got a baby by Kurt, dated another NFL player, and now you the 3rd or 4th guy? Like, why would you date that girl?
I don't know who made that cool, man. I mean, you know, we back in the days, yeah, if somebody, if I didn't want nobody to ever be able to, you can hold that over a dude's head. Yeah, so I ain't never want no girl, yeah, no girl that talked to nobody else. You just didn't even do that. I mean, our saying was you can't make a hoe a housewife. Now they making housewives out of hoes. You know what I mean? So it's weird. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think it's kind of like if I were to really think about it, it seems like a lazy mentality. Like in psychology, we talked about people that date and get along, or one of the things of proximity. If somebody's close to you and they're around you and you run into them all the time, then you kind of will date them people. And so these people are in that world. They're in these same restaurants, same clubs, same mall, same vicinity. So they run, and so it seems a little bit easier. Like they don't have to go out of their way or change anything to do that. If I were thinking about things that, you know, you kind of went physical on things. I mean, my thing would be like about what's destroying people, or 5 things. The first thing that immediately popped to my mind is kind of not doing the things that you were doing to get there to keep you there. And it's kind of like, you know, I always seeing like people would work out, they would lift, they would run, they wouldn't drink, they would go to sleep or whatever. And man, these are the things that got you to where you are. And now you just start eroding at them, and you're not doing the same things to maintain that. And to me, that's the biggest thing. The other things, that's the lowest common denominator, is like not doing the things anymore that got you to where you are, and almost kind of not like forgetting where you came from, but keeping the main thing. And so in my opinion, to me, I think you kind of got to do your same thing. And then if there's space to add something on top of that, then you can add that. But what I think people doing, they taking up the time that they used to do these things to make them successful. And if they was doing 5 things all the time to make them successful, they stopped doing one of them to chase the girl. Then they stopped doing the second one to get to the club. Then they stopped doing the third one to smoke or do drugs. And then now You're only doing 1 out of the 5 things that you used to do, and now you're not successful anymore. So
Wow.
to me, that's where it's kind of like, you're great. You got here being great, doing what you're doing, and other people didn't get to where you were because they weren't willing to do what you did. Now you turned into them. You're not even willing to do what you did to get here anymore.